Hello, welcome to Nurs 241, Fetal Growth and Child Development. This course is to equip with knowledge and skills on growth and development from conception to 5 years. I am your lecturer, Ms. Emma Annan. In this session, we are going to talk about overview of conception and development of the fertilized ovum. Conception is the beginning of life. Every human being begins life as a single cell formed when a sperm fertilizes a female ovum. This session will discuss when the egg is fertilized until it's implanted in the uterus. We'll look at definition of fertilization, maturation, moment of fertilization, cellular multiplication, and implantation. So your reading material is Miles' textbook for midwives. What is fertilization? Fertilization is the process of fusion of a sperm with an ovum. Let's look at the anatomy of the ovum and the sperm. So looking at the structure of the sperm, it looks like a tadpole. It has a head which consists of the acrosome. The acrosome contains enzyme. It has a body and it has a tail. The head also contains a nucleus and it has 23 pairs of chromosomes. And it's very, very small. It's about 0.05 millimeters in diameter. And the ovum is actually the largest cell in the body. It's about 0.15 millimeters in diameter. The ovum also contains a nucleus, a cytoplasm, and a surrounding membrane called the zona pellucida. The zona pellucida is also surrounded with cells known as the corona radiata. The ovum also contains 23 pairs of chromosomes. We'll move on to maturation. Before fertilization takes place, the sperm and the ovum needs to mature. Maturation of the ovum occurs around the time of ovulation. As the ovum and the sperm mature, the number of chromosomes they contain is reduced from 46 to 23. After maturation, the ovum has 22 chromosomes, the 23rd one being the sex chromosome. And the sperm also contains 22 and an X or Y chromosome being the sex chromosome. Let's look at the moment of fertilization. Let's watch a video on moment of fertilization. It usually occurs in the ampulla of the fallopian tube. During intercourse, you see all these sperm, 300 million sperms are deposited in the vagina. So as you can see, they are going, but some of them are so weak that they die in the acidic medium of the vagina. And these sperms travel at a great speed into the uterus. So as you can see, they are traveling into the uterus. That's the cervix. During ovulation, the cervix opens and allow the sperms to penetrate. Others also are not able to penetrate the cervical mucus. The very few ones that are able to penetrate move at a very great speed. You see them dying. Some of them have left. So the very strong ones move at a very great speed. And as you can see from the movie, this is the winning sperm. They are all aiming at one egg. Winning sperm going very fast and trying to enter. But before we look at fertilization, we'll look at the way they are being moved in the uterus towards the fallopian tube. The sperm does not have power of locomotion, so it's being wafted by the cilia. So you can see how the cilia is moving the sperms towards the egg. and the tail of the sperm also allows them to move, and that's the winning sperm trying to move very fast so that no other sperm gets to the ovum first. It's really going, it has to be survival of the fetus. It's going and it has entered. So this particular sperm has won the race. So immediately it enters, it releases enzyme from the acrosome, which allows it to penetrate through the zona pellucida, and the tail and the body is shed off. As soon as contact between the sperm head and the ovum is established, an antigen type reaction takes place between the two cells and the clump. So that is what you are seeing in the video, the clump. As such, no other sperm is able to penetrate the ovum, and the number of chromosomes that was reduced to 23 is restored back to 46, with the last pair being the sex chromosome. So a boy will have XY and a female will be XX. We'll move on to cellular multiplication. After fertilization, the fertilized ovum is called a zygote. Let's look at another image. So that is the ovary. This is the ovary. It releases the ovum to the fallopian tube. Then fertilization takes place in the third of the fallopian tube. So this is the fertilized egg. As you can see, it's still surrounded by the zona pellucida. So few hours after fertilization, the fertilized ovum, which is now called a zygote, that is it, is divided into two. And you see, as they are dividing, they are also finding their way towards the uterus. Few hours later, it tends to be 4. The cells divide through a process of mitosis from 2 to 4, then 4 to 8, and then 16, which is called morula. Some authorities say that the morula contains 16 cells, and the morula is also surrounded by the protective membrane called the zona pellucida. After the morula is formed, it's almost into the uterus, then a fluid-filled cavity appears in the morula, pushing all the cells to one end and another one surrounding it. The inner cell mass develops to form the fetus, the lichor, and the umbilical cord and amnion. And the trophoblast also develops to form the placenta and the chorion. At this stage, the whole structure is called a blastocyst, and it usually reaches the uterus 3 to 4 days after fertilization. That's the fluid cavity known as the blastocyst, the inner cell mass, and the trophoblast. Cellular implantation. The fertilized ovum, that is the fertilized ovum called the blastocyst. The surrounding around it is called the trophoblast. As I said, produces a hormone known as the human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone, and the hormone supports the corpus luteum to produce estrogen and progesterone. So as a result, the endometrium becomes very thick and highly vascular and is known as the decidua, that is ready for implantation. The blastocyst begins to embed in the decidua 6 to 7 days after fertilization and is completely buried by the 10th day. Trophoblastic cells also produce an enzyme that digests the surface of the endometrium and causes a small depression in which the blastocyst will rest. At this point, the blastocyst enter the endometrium and it's sealed. The decidual covering the fertilized ovum, that is the blastocyst, is called decidua basalis. The decidua over the fertilized ovum is called decidua capsularis, and the rest of the decidua is called decidua vera. We're talking about fertilization today. We have looked at fertilization, moments of fertilization, cellular division, and implantation. Thank you.